Hi everyone and welcome back to the French Watch Collector. Today on the bench we have the part 2 of the Omega Speedmaster Mark III. So it took quite a long time between two videos, between the part 1 and the part 2, because I had some issues like at the end to finish this watch. I will explain a bit more in detail at the end of the video. But yeah, I even tried to get Omega involved to help me fix the watch. But yeah, that was not really successful, so I had to find a solution myself. Okay, so the part was fully clean, and now I will reassemble this beautiful 861 movement from Omega, so manual chronograph from the 60s, end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s. Okay, so there I'm starting by assembling the keyless work, as you see, by putting the parts and greasing them properly. We go, greasing the clutch, putting the next parts. You can see the movement is quite clean there. So if you like the video, please subscribe. I see a lot of people watching my video. I'm not subscribing. I do a lot of effort of putting a video once a week. So if it would be nice of you for supporting me and subscribing to my channel and pushing on a like icon, obviously, if you like the video. Okay. I'm putting the setting lever there. You see it's kept in place by a screw from the other side. That's quite a tricky operation to put. But I managed because you have to hold the parts with one end and screw the other part with the other one. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. Okay, putting the yoke spring, the yoke there. So obviously, like I said on many of my videos, I'm not a watchmaker. I do this is my hobby. Yeah? So you will see this video is a perfect example. For example, this watch that I bought at auction, it was quite on with a bad state. So I decided to restore it myself. And yeah, you will see like even with Omega, yeah, it costs quite a lot of money and take a lot of time if you want to restore this watch with Omega. And I will share a bit more at the end of this video on my experience with Omega. So I encourage everything. If you feel, try to restore your own watch. Yeah, it's a fantastic hobby. And to wear a watch that you restore yourself is even more special. So if you have any question, if you want any help, or if you need any advice, or if you have any advice to give me as well, because I'm not a professional, please put some comment down below, and I will be more than happy to reply to your question. Okay, just put there the setting lever spring. So basically, we are more or less done with the keyless work, so we can carry on with the rest. So there is this big bridge there. I think this function, there is nothing underneath. It's only to have a flat surface after to put the dial. And I don't think there is anything with this bridge. On the other side, look, so there I'm assembling the next. You see, this is a hour wheel from the chronograph. So on this side of the mechanism, you will have all the parts for the hour wheel. So you see, I put the hour wheel, the hammer there. Put a bridge on the top. And obviously you see every time I'm adding some lubrication on the parts. So obviously I'm using like 4, 5, 6 type of different oil and grease with different viscosity. And each oil has its own characteristic if you want. So you need to use the right oil at the right place. There we go. This is the mainspring barrel assembly, which is already fully assembled, that I assembled, and I put the ratchet wheel on the top. And here I'm assembling the train of wheel with the different wheels. So on this movement, the 861, you can find quite a lot of technical sheets online where you will have information on how to disassemble and reassemble it, and as well how to oil, which point you need to oil and which oil you need to put on the movement. So that's very helpful when you work on a watch, because obviously you see some general rules, but when you can find an information that tell you where to oil and which oil you need to use at each point, that's very, very helpful. Okay, so you see after assembling some of the wheels, and the main spring barrel, I can put these big plates on the top, and basically the last wheel which need to go, it's the escape wheel, so which is on its own little coke there. So you see, it's only one screw with a stone, with a ruby or a jewel. Okay, I'm aligning the wheel in the jewel. There we go. You see that now? I can press, it's sitting nicely in place. And when I turn the wheel, you see the escape wheel is driven by the other wheel, so everything is connected properly. Okay, putting back the screw to secure it. So basically now we are just assembling the timekeeping element of the watch, which is pretty basic. It's like on any other watch where you will have a mainspring, a train of wheel. Here you see the pallet fork. We'll put later on the balance assembly. And after, on top of it, obviously, we'll add the complication, which is on his watch, the chronograph. Okay, so there I'm putting the pallet fork, putting the bridge on the top. Just make sure it's aligned. You see it's rocking left and right, so it means the pallet fork is sitting in both jewels correctly. Putting the screws to secure it in place. And now I can put the balance wheel, and we can see if the movement will start or not. Just aligning on the bottom pivot and just turning very gently. See if we can align it. Just moving it very, wow. Oh, you saw it just started and it was not fully in place. Yes, perfect. So we have a runner. The movement is beating. So that's the first good news. Now we just secure it with a screw, and basically that's it. So we have the timekeeping element of the watch and the keyless work, which is fully assembled. So we can start working on a chronograph. So I put a different spring. So here you will have parts that will actionate the hammer a bit later on. We see what's the hammer. So putting the spring. There we go. This is a cam. So obviously this is a chronograph, which is cam operated. It's not a column wheel. So the cam is in two parts. You will have the bottom part. So that's the bottom part, and you will have the top parts, which going on the top. So basically that's the parts that will rotate and drive all the different elements from the chronograph to make it start, stop, and reset. Okay, just secure it with the screw. And obviously you see on the mechanism, all the screws are already in place. So you remember when I disassemble the mechanism, I place back all the screws in place just to make sure I don't mix them. So here I'm putting a spring, that's a spring, a cam spring. Here we go. This is another spring that I will install and that will be used later for the operating lever. Here we go. I'm oiling all the pivot point of this little indexation finger. Greasing all the parts you see that come in contact metal to metal with a lot of friction. So here I use a grease and not an oil because this is a place that we see a lot of friction. This is a little finger that come at the end of the operating. Here we go. This is the operating rod there. That will do the connection between the pusher and the cam, so to actionate the cam. So here I need to arm the spring. So you see I will pull back, and here we go. Now it's in place, and this little spring underneath we see with the arc shape there is fully armed. Placing the screws to secure the part. Always removing, you see the excess grease. So you see the blue part there is all the excess grease. I remove it with a bit of Rodico, which is like kind of like paste, a bit like it's used to clean the parts and to remove any excess oil. Okay, I just put the center chronograph wheel and I'm just oiling the cam. So this is the heart-shaped parts that you see on the top. Putting there an intermediate wheel that will drive. This is a minute wheel from the chronograph. Again, you see with a cam shape art on the top that I oiled as well. And this is a bridge that will keep in place the both chronograph wheels. So I mean that's the center chronograph wheel, which is for the second, and the minute wheel of the chronograph. Okay, so here we go. I'm aligning the wheels. Perfect. Putting the screw when everything is in place, and it is fully secured. Okay. So this is a part that will stop, and we come basically act as a brake on the chronograph wheel when you put it on when you stop it. This is the wheel that will drive the chronograph. So basically this is a wheel which is always turning, and you can see it's friction mounted on the wheel underneath from the train of wheel. So there is an extended pivot, and this wheel is always turning. And now I'm installing the clutch. So this assembly there is a clutch, and the purpose will be that's the part that will drive, you see the wheel which is always turning, to the chronograph wheel in the center. So basically when I start the chronograph, the clutch will come in contact between both wheels. Like now, you see both wheels are turning. And when I disengage, obviously the clutch will disengage from the chronograph wheel. Okay, so now I'm installing as well all the springs to put the tension in the chronograph mechanism. So I already put the spring for the clutch. That's a spring that will be used for the hammer. So the hammer, this is this huge part that will come and hit when we reset the chronograph. It will come and hit the chronograph wheel and the minute wheel to reset them to 0. Okay, so just need to make sure it's put in the correct place. And now I will arm the hammer spring that are previously installed. There we go. Now just find the correct position. And now the hammer is under tension. Just oiling the part. Here we have a connecting rod basically that will connect the cam to the hour. You remember the mechanism for the hour of the chronograph is on the other side. I'm oiling the pivot you see in the center, and now I moved to the dial side where we finish to assemble the parts for the hour mechanism. Okay, so the same, we have like some rods, some springs that will arm the parts. So this is a huge spring, you see. So I'm installing it. Right now it's not under tension, but I will put it under tension a bit later. Okay, you see now I'm putting this part, just pressing underneath, and it will go under the parts. There is a little pin there, and that will keep this big part under tension with the spring. There we go. And that's a brake. That's what will stop the hour running. Okay, putting the screw in the middle. You see with oiling it before. Put the parts that's there for the pushers. That's why we make the connection in the case with the pushers. So basically this mechanism, I already assembled it quite a long time ago. It was on my old bench. I finished a movement, like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, maybe even 5. And it was running pretty good, but I had an issue with the case. On this movement, what's really difficult is to fit the glass, the crystal of the movement. There is no rings that go around the crystal, and you need a special tool to fit this crystal. And this tool is a tool which is owned by Omega. It's not something that you can buy in a shop. It's specially made for this model of watch, okay, to insert the crystal. So I tried to find the tool online to insert a new crystal because the crystal on this watch was damaged. But yeah, I could not find it. So I decided to send the watch to Omega, okay, to fit a new crystal, just a new crystal. So first to send the watch to get a quotation. So this is a famous O-ring. It took me like more than a month. And after Omega quoted me €700 to change a crystal because they wanted to redo as well the movement, but I did not ask for it. And it was 8 months delay to do it. So you see, this is this O-rings that go around the watch. So the fix that I found is I found the design of the tool online. I did with a 3D software, I did this part, and basically I sent it to somebody to 3D print the parts. So that's the parts that I made myself. I design it on a computer, and I send it to somebody to 3D print. And you see this part go on top of the case, and you have to push the glass, the crystal in this part. So like that, the O-ring is compressed, and you can push it on the case. Without this tool, I tried so many times for many hours to insert the crystal. It was impossible. Like the O-ring was always popping out. It was impossible. So yeah, I'm pretty glad that and I found a fix. So basically, I had to do it myself to design the tool on a 3D software. I recall my engineering skills and send it to somebody to 3D print it, and that's it. That was just what I needed, and that's it. We have a watch. The movement was already done a long time ago. The case was already fully cleaned, and here we go. Now the watch is finished, and let's see how it runs. We put it on a time grapher. First, a bit, we're going to demagnify the watch. And this is, so you see the watch is gaining few seconds per day. The amplitude is not very high, but I think it's quite acceptable, just above 260 degrees. The beat error is pretty good. And you see you are around +2, +4, +0. And here is the finished product on my Rust. This is a watch that I always wanted to add to my collection, an Omega with an 861 movement. So I'm very happy with the result. I hope you enjoy the video, and I see you next time on my next project. Bye bye.